Cognitive psychology, meaning history and research methods. Cognitive psychology is the branch of psychology that studies mental processes such as perception, attention, learning, memory, language, thinking, reasoning, creativity, and problem solving. It is concerned with how people receive information from the environment, process it, store it, retrieve it, and use it in behavior. In simple words, cognitive psychology studies how the mind works. Cognitive psychologists are interested in questions such as how do we recognize objects? Why do we forget? How do we solve problems? How do children acquire language? And why do we make errors in thinking? These questions show that cognitive psychology is not limited to observable behavior alone. It tries to understand the internal mental processes behind behavior. Talking about the history, the roots of cognitive psychology can be traced to early philosophical discussions about mind and knowledge. Greek philosophers such as Plato and Aristotle discussed memory, perception, and reasoning. Later, thinkers like Descartes and Locke debated whether knowledge is innate or acquired through experience. In the late 19th century, William Wundt established experimental psychology and used introspection to study conscious experience. However, in the early 20th century, behaviorism became dominant. Behaviorists such as Watson and Skinner rejected the study of mind because mental processes could not be directly observed. They focused on stimulus-response relationship. Cognitive psychology re-emerged strongly during the cognitive revolution of the 1950s and 60s. Several factors contributed through this revolution, like dissatisfaction with behaviorism, development of computers, information processing theory, linguistics, cybernetics, and research on memory and attention. The computer became a useful metaphor for the human mind, just as computers encode, store, and retrieve information. Human beings were also understood as information processors. Ulrich Neisser's book Cognitive Psychology gave the field a clear identity. Since then, cognitive psychology has expanded into areas such as cognitive neuroscience, artificial intelligence, psycholinguistics, and human-computer interaction. Talking about the research methods, cognitive psychology uses scientific methods to study mental processes. The main goals of research are data collection, analysis, theory formation, hypothesis testing, and application. The important research methods are laboratory experiments. These are controlled studies in which independent and dependent variables are carefully measured. For example, researchers may study how rehearsals affect memory recall. The next is psychobiological methods. These study the relationship between brain processes and cognition. Brain imaging, lesion studies, and neuropsychological assessments are used. Next are case studies. These provide detailed study of individuals, especially people with brain damage or special cognitive deficits. Next is self-reports and introspection. These invoke asking people to describe their thought processes, though they may not always be fully reliable. Next, we have naturalistic observation. This studies cognition in real-life settings. Last but not the least, we have computer simulation and artificial intelligence. These methods create models that imitate human thinking and problem solving. Cognitive psychology is the scientific study of mind. It developed from philosophy, experimental psychology, and cognitive revolution. The research methods combine experiments, brain studies, observation, case studies, and computer models to understand how human beings think, learn, remember, and solve problems. An additional explanation for the IGNOU exams. For examination purposes, cognitive psychology should be written as a scientific approach to mind and behavior. It does not reject behavior, but it explains behavior by studying internal processes such as attention, perception, learning, memory, language, and reasoning. This makes the field different from strict behaviorism. The answer becomes stronger when the historical development, information processing approach, and research methods are connected. Cognitive psychology uses experiments, observation, case study, brain-based methods, and computer models to study processes that cannot be directly seen but can be inferred from performance. Thank you.